Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. Going to be joined once again by VulcanHDGaming.
Good morning, good evening, and good day, everyone. Super excited to be here.
In this video, we're going to have for you game 1 of a best of 3 between Onord and Underthesea in the semi-finals of Season 7 of the Steel Division 2 League. Today, they are playing on Siedlce, and on our left in the red team playing on the allied side, we have Onord using the Task Force 45 and the Maverick deployment type. And on our right in the blue, we have Underthesea using the first Lovas on the Axis side with the Maverick deployment type. What are you thinking about these decks, Attack Fire?
I will say, I love first Lovas. I actually just made a video how to play them and stuff. I love good infantry, so a division full of beefy Hungarian infantry is super fun. Really hard to say all those things, but a super fun division to play. Interesting. I see a lot of people choose this division on this map, and I would never actually, because it's an infantry division and there's a lot of open space. I don't know. It always kind of strikes me as odd, but I've seen it happen a lot. So apparently I'm missing the boat on this one. Task Force 45, super good. One of the strongest divisions to come out of the new Italian DLC. It's really strong overall. Its infantry with their converted governors are just disgustingly strong. It's got a nice mix of armor. It's got some really strong air elements to it. I mean, it's a pretty good all-around division.
Yeah, it's got exactly what you want to push forwards aggressively. You got expendable infantry, great fire support, and then some decent bombers to back you up. But yeah, first Lovas, I agree with you. It's a great division, really good fun to play. Has some spectacular infantry like the Hasarok and so on. And yeah, should we have a look at what's going down? So
yeah,
over on the left here, we got for Onord, he's got his 50 cal on the top side. Below that, we're going to be seeing the beginnings of what makes the Task Force 45 so good. Couple 50 cals, the Ammo Pioneers, the M8s, the T70 on a beautiful unit that is, the Cavalry Scouts, converted gunners. Further down, we have the M10 Destroyer, going to be covering off the mid, and then some more converted gunners. And on the bottom side, Cavalry Scouts, 50 cal, T70, M8 Scott, and converted gunners. What do you think about deployment? Because I think Underthesea is still going, so let's have a quick chat about what Onord's got down.
It's a pretty standard push. He's going to push down south here to grab this forest in the south. He's going to push up north in that kind of like middle main road there, probably through the woods on the sort of like bottom side there. He is leaving the center very low, like very empty. Now those two converted gunners will for some reason do really well. I don't because those are just really overpowered. They'll hold, but he'll probably need to reinforce that at some point, because that is not a lot to hold that central town. Yeah,
he's going to be pushing those into that initial center engagement, but I think the reason that he might not deploy so much in the center is I guess kind of a bit of a mind game, expecting the first Lovas to not do the same thing, right? So like to not invest so much into the center, so he's not going to have to contest that too much. And then if it is contested, he's going to have the M10s that are going to win against the Turans at range and so on. So I think that's probably what he's thinking there.
And the big thing to remember too is that Onord has a huge speed advantage at the beginning of the game. All the Lovas have are those Botan A's, which are only 60 kilometers an hour, and a lot of UU's stuff, Underthesea stuff, is coming in at 80 to 90 kilometers an hour. So he will beat Underthesea to the front lines.
Yeah, and these T70s especially, the prototype Hellcats with recon, super quick. They're going to be getting to the front line almost just as fast as the transports are. Yeah, let's have a look at
he will.
Sorry.
Yeah, he'll have the front foot there. He'll get the first strike.
Yeah, let's have a quick look at what Underthesea is getting down. So on the top side, we've got the Siedlce with the 75mm gun there. The Lovas with the Pancelto Raketa and the Hasagoyo Soroshok with the Turan 1. Further down, we've got Siedlce, Fadarato Yaror and the 75mm. There's going to be into the center. We've got the Hasarok, Kerak Parasok, and the Siedlce, some Hasagoyo Soroshok with the Lovas Turan and Kerak Parasok with another 40mm. That's the nice tiny guns that are really effective. They used to be super strong when they had 2,000 meter range. Now they don't.
Oh my god.
Further down, we've got the another 75mm gun with more support here, 40M, 75M, with the Siedlce, Akasok, Hasagoyo Soroshok, Turan 2's Felderato Yaro, and he just added the Hasarok round there. So yeah, These Hasagoya Solar Shock super good at taking on that long range.
Yeah, with their triple light machine gun. Now they don't have a very good machine gun, but having 3 machine guns is having 3 machine guns. It doesn't really matter what kind they are.
Yeah, indeed. Onord leaving us a little message there. He says, accidentally effed up my tank tab, so no Shermans in A. That's pretty incredible. Let's see how he does without them to support, because without Shermans, it makes the Turans that much more effective, right?
They should dominate the battlefield for the start. I gotta tell you, the Division 1 players are obviously a cut above the rest of everybody else. I mean, there's a big difference between Division 1 and Division 2 in terms of skill. Not that Division 2 players aren't great too, but Division 1 is something else. But these Division 1 players make so many strange mistakes like this where they just don't put any effort into their deck building.
Well, I think it's actually maybe a symptom of them being better in that they create decks on the fly to deal with what they're up against, right? So he's seen Underthesea pick first Lovas, and so he's decided to build a 45 Task Force 45 deck to counter, right? And he probably, in his like rush to do that, forgot the tanks, right? But when you think about lower division players, they probably already have all of their decks set up, and they probably wouldn't change them as much based on what they're playing against.
Definitely true. So we see engagement here in the south is really where the first contact we have here, with the Hungarians taking the advantage to start.
Yeah, the Siedlce and the 40M. The 40M, again, we were talking about the 2,000 meter range. They also now have HE rounds as well, so that's also helpful. And between the Turan 2, the Siedlce, and the 40M, managed to push the 50 cal back. Those 50 cals can be really nice. We do have the Havoc coming in. That's a bit late.
Recon. And UU just lost an infantry up on the hill trying to capture this really tough flag on the hill just slightly to the north. That one really sucks for the blue player to try to get. And it's their own flag.
Yeah, so on the 50-50, that can be a bit frustrating because the little bit of patch of forest where the 50 cal is sitting is basically putting pressure over that flag for the majority of the game. In this case, it doesn't look like Onord is really contesting the cover above the hill at the moment, so it looks like Underthesea is going to get into a decent position there with the Hasagoya Solar Shock before the converted gunners come across. I just think that Onord has maybe, been a bit conservative with his deployment on the top side.
Extremely. Yeah, especially because, again, he had the speed advantage at the beginning of the game. Like, he could have very easily beaten UU to all these positions rather definitively, and he just decided not to. I mean, it's Maverick on Maverick, so honestly, they probably both expect the game to go a little long. Yeah,
the Hasagoya Solar Shock going to be taking care of that recon unit, potentially, unless they're managing to get away, which they might just do. The 75mm gun is getting some decent HE rounds onto that 50 cal. These 75Ms, they're good at taking out like light armor, but they also have the HE shell, which has the 2.2 damage.
They do, and we already have some air contact down south of Falcon Wolf 990 going after that. Mitchell now being chased itself by the C202.
It's going to be a tough engagement. Yeah, the Fulgor is going to completely outturn the Focke-Wulf. It's the only chance is that it can potentially outrun it, but the Fulgor's pretty fast, and so I don't think that's long for this world.
Well, and it also has medium resilience, so... Oh no, it's on its back, and that'll probably be... No, he's getting away. He should retreat that now for sure.
It's funny because Onord, I believe, is keeping the Mitchell up almost as bait for this Focke-Wulf. Also, the nice thing about these Mitchells is they are nicely armed with 50 cals, so this Focke-Wulf might actually get shot down by those 50 cals if he's not too careful.
He finally learned his lesson, maybe.
Yeah, there you go. I think the Mitchell got it.
I think, or the 50 cal from the ground. So not a good start air-wise because UU does really need his air force. The first Lovas has a really strong air force full of Falcon-Wolves and stuff, and if he does not use them well, he's losing a very strong aspect of his division.
Yeah, the Fulgor now free to strafe ground targets. Another Mitchell on the way with its bombing strike, and honestly, the only way that Underthesea can really deal with this right now is bringing in more air. The AA is limited. You know, he does have the 40mm. He has deployed one on the bottom side, but it's going to take a little while to set up now. It's quite costly. So, yeah. And the issue with AA in 1v1 is that it only covers a certain part of the map, and in order to like invest enough in order to stop the bombers from being effective, or at least getting their bombs off in the first place, it is, again, it's not cost efficient at all.
It isn't, but I would argue, and I often say this to newer players, it's oftentimes better just to buy the piece of AA, because the AA piece will stop several planes, while the fighter, especially if you don't manage it really well, will die, and oftentimes won't get any kills.
The AA is the first piece of the puzzle, and then he's going to need to bring in aircraft that can accompany the AA in order to get the kills, and that's looks what he's doing here with the Focke-Wulf coming in.
Now, what he needs to do is swing some of these Terrans up down south. He needs to swing some of these Terrans into this light forest, because there's not, I mean, the cavalry scouts are dangerous, but these these converted gunners will get absolutely wrecked by these Terrans.
We're looking at the bottom side here with the Terran 2 and the Terran 1 just sitting in the open for the time being. I mean, the Hasagoyo Sodoshok, if they're sitting in the heavy cover engaging the converted gunners in the light cover, they can definitely do a serious amount of damage. On the top side, under the sea, though, still trying to micro this Focke-Wulf to pull the Fulgur over his own AA, so that he can then turn on it and potentially take it down if the 40M does not. But yeah, on the bottom side, we are seeing that engagement continue there between the converted gunners and the Hasagoyo Sodoshok.
He does get that fighter shot down to the north, so that's definitely a win for him. He's got to clear that air, and he has another Focke-Wulf coming in now on the south to hopefully try to drive back these converted gunners.
Yeah, they are really starting to build up now quite a bit. The bombing strike was in a bit of an odd position.
Yeah, I was expecting the large blob, not the singular converted gunner.
Yeah, the Turans can easily deal with the converted gunner that's on the bottom side, so you'd expect him to want to bomb the blob that's on top of the flag, so the Hasarok can move in there and claim some surrenders potentially, or at least, force the fallback on those converted gunners, which they would anyway because they're disheartened.
Yeah. And you can see while looking at the map, this is where the strength of Task Force 45 comes in. There's just so many converted gunners on the map. There's just like basically 2 to 1. For every Goda-Shodoshok, there is 2 converted gunners, which means they'll always lose.
Yeah, the availability on the converted gunners is crazy high. Yes, they cost a little bit more these days than they did. It was absolutely
but they're still
horrible when they were 20 points.
Strong.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. And I think Underthesea needs to be trying to use his Terrans a little bit more. Now, he doesn't know, obviously, that Onord does not have any Shermans in A, but he hasn't seen any. So, especially in the south here, in these kind of tighter fighting areas, and maybe in the light forest in the north, I feel like he needs to really start using his Terrans a little bit more aggressively. They're only 35 or 40 points, and, he needs to support his infantry.
Yeah, I think it's kind of unconventional for Underthesea to not be so aggressive, but he may be a little bit intimidated by Onord, being the higher rank in the group stages, and he did very, very well this season. So that's why we're having this semi-final now, is like Underthesea obviously got through in the quarters, and then Onord just like straight up into the semis based on his ranking in the group. So that might also be putting a little bit of pressure on Underthesea here, and he's just taking it a bit too cautiously.
We see up north here that this machine gun is starting to pin down this 75mm a little bit, and unfortunately his Goda-Shotoshoks are ending up in the thick forest, which is not where you want them, because then they end up within that 100-meter range, and they lose all their light machine gun firepower, which makes them basically like weaker Huzaruks, essentially.
Yeah, they aren't able to use those because they're classed as light machine guns and not automatic rifles. So big difference there. Definitely makes a big difference to the 100-meter range engagement, but that's why these converted gunners against Hasagoyo Sodoshok on the bottom side are probably going to have a much harder time in those longer range engagements.
Yep.
And we are seeing more Terrans arriving on that bottom side. The T-70 and the M8 Scott were forced off the bot side light cover when the Terran 2 and the Terran 1 were moving forwards with the 75mm gun. And so far, Underthesea is sitting at the 13-11, so he's off to a decent start here. He has lost some tickets to Onord, but has now found the lead across the map.
Yeah, he's getting his footing under himself a little bit here. Now, I do have a quick question for you while the action's not too heavy. Do you prefer the Terran 1 or the Terran 2?
I think the Terran 2 is generally more useful because it does have that heat shell, which is just really kind of reliable at close range in penetrating sort of medium armor, and so it can make it quite potent against other medium armor, which is generally perceived to be stronger. So in like a light cover engagement at really close range, the accuracy is going to be super high on those, and then the penetration is just almost guaranteed because it doesn't drop off with range.
Yeah, I would say the Turan 2, for two different reasons. One is the 1,500 meter range over the 1,000 meter range. I mean, that's a big range difference, so you can actually reach out and support your infantry a little bit better with them. And also, they have way higher HE than the Turan 1. Ooh, we have a great push down south with these Turan 1s, hopefully going to surrender these converted gunners.
You got your wish. Underthesea pushing in aggressively with the Turans. Going to surrender 2.
This is what you have to do with them.
Yeah, maybe 3 converted gunners here, all going away. Just cleaning that out nicely.
This is how you use your Turans. You have to be aggressive with them. It kind of bucks the usual trend of armor where you're like, don't send them into forests, don't put them very close to infantry. You don't want these guys. They're cheap, they're kind of disposable, and they can be really aggressively used at close range.
Yeah, so that one converted gunner managed to get away with it. Probably going to end up bumping into the Hazagu. Solar Shock though. Cavalry scouts are going to get bazookas on target. I don't think Underthesea's noticed yet. That's going to take out both.
Still very worth it.
Yeah, I think it's worth trading Turans, honestly, for these converted gunners to a certain extent, especially with like the triple surrender there. It's going to be about even on the points, so not too bad. And now on the top side, another play coming through. Underthesea just zooming forwards with all these Turans. I think he finally realized that there wasn't any M4s, but we're into phase B where Onord does have M4s up his sleeve, and now they are being brought onto the field. He's got 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom.
He must have heard me.
It's funny, you'll get used to it, but when you're casting these games, it does sometimes feel that way. Yeah, the Focke-Wulf 190 coming in with a nice bombing strike on the top side, going to take out that 50 cal. Hasorok Karakparasok going to be securing that flag nicely. On the bottom side, that recon still hanging about.
Now, way down south, I do want to note, because we're going to forget it's there and it's going to do magical things. There's an ammo and pioneers way down south sneaking around. We'll find out where that ends up at some point later in the game.
Yeah, it will provide good information on what's coming in to reinforce. It won't necessarily have the power to kill what's coming in to reinforce, like a bazooka squad or something. If that was a cavalry scouts, I'd be a bit more scared, but since it's just the ammo and pioneers, it might kill a couple of infantry squads if they walk onto them, but that's about it.
Big push south by Onord here. Huge pile of troops. He's got his basically Brazilian engineers coming in along with more converted gunners. This should really... Oh, and some Nisei rifles, which are really, really strong. Yeah,
the Nisei are really, really nice, especially at range. The Rohamach, so one of them just got absolutely deleted by a converted gunner from the heavy to no cover there. The cavalry scout, once again, moving forwards to get another bazooka on target. We'll probably look for the Turan 2 as well, as long as it doesn't get focused moving forwards. Meanwhile, on the top side, M4A1 going to be coming up the hill and starting to blast these Turans to pieces. That's not going to be a nice time.
No, and the Turan 2 really can't. It really can't deal with these things. I mean, statistically, yes, it can. It's got 90 millimeters of penetration, and the Sherman's got 90 millimeters of armor. But in practice, it really doesn't penetrate often enough for it to work.
Yeah, it would have to be really close range as well for the heat round to actually land, because those things only have like 25% accuracy.
Yeah,
so
it's rough.
It's a very bad time.
The 75 mil is making work on them with its heat rounds. It already took out one Sherman, did not get another penetration, but just even killing one was a big deal.
Yeah, that's nice. For 30-point AT gun to be taken out a 70-point tank, that's good value for money there. On the bottom side, these infantry are really starting to make a lot of progress here. Underthesea has been broken down a significant amount, but he is now going to be bringing in those Jagdpanzers. I was wondering when we were going to see them on the side of the Lovas, and they finally arrived. They're definitely fantastic for dealing with the M4s at range, but we'll have to be careful not to be flanked at closer ranges, as they are, self-propelled. So the gun's always facing forwards. It makes it hard for them to turn.
It's important to note that. It's important to note that he's brought it in with no veterancy, which means he should have, I believe, 6 to work with coming in phase B.
Yep.
Because they are going to be key to his anti-tank defense. Like, they will own the Shermans, but they need to be careful. The M1A1 destroyers, they can definitely fall to those.
Yeah, I can see that Underthesea's now brought in the Focke-Wulf 190 fighter. Looks like he had those available in B and is now trying to get rid of this recon that Onord is currently relying on. On the top side, Lovas versus converted gunners. Not too bad really at that range with the 9 Fegs and the Solothurn. Not bad at all.
Yeah, and down south, he's finally bringing some more infantry. He desperately needs. He has none. I mean, he's holding the line with a couple tanks.
They all died.
Yeah.
So yeah, just the Turan 2 and the Turan 1 in the way of the converted gunners and the Nisei moving forwards. 40M still trying to deal with these aircraft. Mitchell was going for a bombing strike in the middle of the map to get rid of a lot of these Schwarlos that are pinning down the UK converted gunners in the middle of the map. But that's not going to get through and actually get shot down by the Focke-Wulf.
He brought in a second one, which was probably the right call because Onord's Air Force was definitely starting to become a serious thorn in his side. So taking out that bomber does really matter because he brought in, you know, a card in A, which means he doesn't have that many Mitchells. I mean, he's definitely got another card most likely, but everyone that goes down represents less he's got to deal with.
Yeah, well, he had 2 come out in the early game, so yeah, and there's only 1 on each card, so that's 2 cards in the air tab just devoted to those bombers, and one of which is now gone. Hasegayo Solar Shock unloading in the open there might finish off those engineers. I would definitely hope that Underthesea focused the engineers in that engagement just to make sure they're gone, because that's what's got the TNT, and they are going to go down. Yeah, they're now going to want to do a runner though. But the Lovas coming in with another Hasegayo Solar Shock. It'd be interesting to see how that engagement goes with like the 2 converted gunners, unless these Turans start just pinning them all down, in which case...
Well, they're gonna get destroyed here by these M4A1s that are coming out of the woods. I always wondered taking the Lovas over the Husardoks instead, because price-wise there's only a 5-point difference, and the Husardoks get, you know, 4 more guys, better guns. I don't fully understand why you bring these.
I think it's, you know, somewhat availability, and the 5 points can add up. You know, when you're looking at 100 points worth of infantry, you get an extra squad, right? So I think in the long run, you know, they can definitely add more value, specifically if you are using them en masse, like you're bringing in multiple at a time.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Did manage to get rid of the converted gunners, one of them surrendered there. But yeah, those M4A1s just completely deleting the armor support that Underthesea had, and even the Jagdpanzer forced to fall back with the panic, the crew panic critical there onto the Jagdpanzer 38.
Yeah, that's just the bad luck of the roll. Now, it should be able to take out at least one of these, I would think. If it can get its crap together and land some shots. Yeah,
well, the accuracy, base accuracy is 45%. It was pinned a little bit, so it's going to take at least a couple of shots to get on target. Yeah, but will it hit the 3rd time? I have a knack for watching my tanks land shots.
Ah, there we go.
Watching them land shots, and then the 2nd shot always misses. But in this case, Underthesea, nicely done. Manages to take out one of them, forces Onord back for the time being.
And Onord here has already called in 2 81mm mortar half-tracks, and if he uses these well, it can really build up a lot of value as the game goes on. He's already pushing back that 40mm mortar, so now Underthesea has to be extra careful. Now there's a Mitchell and a Ju-88 up north coming in to bomb their respective enemies.
Yeah, the bombing duel. Who will win? The Hasselhock, though, holding fire for the time being, might be able to just take out the Nisei nice and quick. The Ju-88 is going to get its bombs off just before it gets pinned. The Focke-Wulf coming in hot on that Mitchell, though. Will it take it down? The CGMC might save it, but it's not even firing at it yet. I think.
Oh yeah, I think the Focke-Wulf's going to get it. Oh, yeah. And the Mitchell goes down.
Yeah, Onord initially had it right-clicked on the Ju-88, so it wasn't changing target automatically when the Ju-88 got pinned in the sky. So the Focke-Wulf managed to get through there. A little bit of a mistake on Onord's part, I feel.
Now in the center, he has driven some converted gunners right up to this hill to take out these Schwarlos, and he'll probably be successful unless this one can pin these guys down when they come over the crest of the hill. Let's see if they can manage.
Yeah, he's done well to get that far up, honestly, but the M4105 definitely forced those MGs to fall back, and Onord took the opportunity to run that up there, and at close range they might be able to do it.
Oh, they did it.
And the disheartened, the disheartened trait really helping out Underthesea there in pinning those down nice and quick.
Down south, he's Onord's mispositioned an M1A1 destroyer here that's getting shot by the 75 mil, but he does finally back it up. I can't believe that did not penetrate, actually.
Yeah, it's just rough. Like again, it's an accuracy thing as well. Couple shots off target, 30% accuracy. The ammo pioneers though coming in hot for that one.
Yeah. So we're up to a 14-10 in Onord's favor with these two flags in the center with this little bulge he's created.
We've seen the Ju-87s come out of the Lovas now. The CGMC is both on the top side, so they might get away with taking out one of these M4-105s. It really depends if this M15 CGMC on top of the hill there will be able to get shots on target.
No, as long as they hit, he will. Nope, they're missing. They don't see him. They lost sight.
Yeah, there's no sight there. That's really bad.
Oh, but that Ju-87 just took a pot shot at the C202 and did a lot of damage.
Yep, and the 40M's going to shoot it down. That's nice.
Wow. Wow. I have never seen someone use a Ju-87 like that, honestly.
Yeah, these Ju-87s can be pretty nasty, the variants that do have the 20 mils in the wings. But one of them is going to get shot down in the end to one of the CGMCs, and Onord has one on that bottom side. He is covering himself quite well with these AA pieces now, and there's also a 90 mil on the very top side as well. There's another one coming in towards the center, so...
Well, and that'll lock down the air.
The airplay is going to be gone from Underthesea.
Yeah, those 90 millimeter AA guns, this is the only division with them. These are really, really powerful. I mean, both on the ground and for taking out air stuff. We also see down south a 203 millimeter artillery piece here, and I actually just was making a video about whether artillery is meta now for 1v1, and the answer is yes, especially for Maverick divisions. When you are slightly on the front, when you're slightly ahead like Onord is, and you bring in this artillery, what you do is basically you hold flags with it. So whenever the opponent kind of gets close to capturing a flag, you drop a couple shells, the opponent falls back, and they don't get that flag, and all you do, you just kind of keep doing this for most of the game, the remainder of the game, and that's how you kind of win.
Yeah, artillery is always an investment. It's something that allows you to win longer games, because generally artillery doesn't really like pay itself off. It's there to just like support your other units. So making sure that you have that, and then therefore you can win these infantry engagements by providing a bit of extra suppression indirectly, is very, very strong. In the middle, M4-105 just taking pot shots at Lovas, trying to make ground, and yeah. I think Onord realizes that he can lock down the center of the map, and is locking down the center of the map, bringing in more of the converted gunners. He's got the M4-105s that pretty much Underthesea can't do much about unless he gets another like Hetzer to move in there. On the bottom side, more infantry arriving, but there's no armored support for this, so the M8 Scott, the M10, and the M4A1 just waiting to pounce as those unload in the open.
Yeah, and this situation actually is exactly why I'm always really confused why people pick first Lovas on this map. You can't control the middle of the map using this division. They don't have any 2,000 meter range weapons, like at all. So when the opponent brings in any sort of long range support guns, or in this case this 90 millimeter AA, you can't interact with it. Like, you have a really hard time actually getting into the middle, and you're basically auto losing several flags. Yeah,
it makes it very, very difficult. If you're not making ground elsewhere, it just becomes more and more difficult. And yeah, with Onord on the 15-9, that is the double tick. 11 minutes left on the counter. Lovas getting absolutely toasted at close range by the Nisei, and if these Hasselhock don't get into cover soon, the Nisei are going to be engaging from heavy to no cover, and that's going to be absolutely terrible for Underthesea.
Yeah. And he's not even moving the Goto Shotoshok and the Lovas here. They're just kind of... Oh, they're finally moving now. Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, he just realized, but it's going to be a little bit late for the Hasselhock on the top side.
The Ju-88 coming in.
And the Hasselhock Shotoshok at close range, not going to be able to deal with the engineers. But yeah, that Ju-88 might help pin these down.
Could swing this. Unless he did not pin himself down, which was key to this. And now if he pushes aggressively, he probably won't capture any of them. But
yeah, they're all going to fall back faster than he can catch up. But it will basically allow him a way into this heavy cover without losing too many more men. These Wolves constantly trying, but there's no way forwards for them at the moment.
And unfortunately for Underthesea, I mean, if you zoom out, you can see, just the difference in the number of forces on the map. And more importantly, Onord has basically fully developed all of his support weapons. He's got a really strong AA net. He's got artillery to cover those things. He's got long-range support weapons to support his pushes. I mean, and basically Underthesea's on the back foot in every one of those theaters.
Yeah, he's really going to have to hope that these 40M 75 mils that he's brought in, the Pack 40s, are going to be able to break down some of this medium armor. Otherwise, it's just going to have no chance throughout this game. It's just going to constantly cause issues for his infantry. And you can see at close range, the engineers just pushing back the Hazugo Sodashok, the Lovas not being able to deal with the Nise and another engineer squad there. The converted gunners are going to be finding the AT gun as well now, so that's even more pressure off from Onord. Doesn't have to worry about that anymore.
Underthesea did call in 2 76.5mm artillery guns
as well.
Yeah, to try to, you know, take out some of this AA and stuff, but it's already being counter batteried, and it's also non-radio. They're not really good artillery pieces, and he's getting counter batteried with mortars, I believe.
Yeah, the 81mm mortar is the one doing the trick there, but it is going to allow him to a certain extent to use his Air Force. You know, whilst the 90mm is pinned down, he can get this Ju-87 up, for example, and the bomber, the Ju-88, managed to get a complete bombing strike in there onto the converted gunners, which is going to push them off the hill. So he did time that quite nicely, bringing in the aircraft to take advantage of the AA being pinned down for the time being.
They're probably going to die, though. That's a lot of points just to get one airstrike in.
Yeah, the Aksak going to be actually getting quite a lot of damage down onto the converted gunners on the bottom side. Still a little bit of a back and forth as Onord provides mortar fire onto Underthesea, while Underthesea is trying to bomb those infantry. It's just constantly trying to get back in there, but Onord holding his ground nicely at the moment. Oh, there we go. The Pack 40 is starting to get some penetrations in onto these tanks. Can it clean up the M4? Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
The airmate Scott's actually going to be out of range of that, so
and it's dead now.
Yeah,
so.
It takes that out as well. Very, very nice indeed. Going to be seeing the Abraham Aksak coming in, the Flamer squads, to try and engage at close range. They will win against engineers 1v1 because Flamers always fire first. So we'll have to see if that pays off.
Unless there's a significant difference in veterancy, actually. Your engineers can get their grenades off if they have a high enough veterancy in between flamer shots.
Yeah,
believe it or not.
Yeah,
it's very annoying.
But
it's infuriating when you're like, "Oh, my flamer will definitely win this," and then they don't.
Yeah, I mean, 9 times out of 10 though, the flamers should be winning a 1v1 in that situation. This Wolf really getting close to the sun there. It got a really nice bombing strike in the middle, actually. Did a bunch of damage to those converted gunners.
And down south, those flamers are actually pushing into the woods finally.
Yep, they managed to take care of one of the engineer squads, and the converted gunner is going to have to do a runner. That allows the Hasselhoff to get back into position, and if they can get to the edge of this heavy cover, they'll be able to probably clean out the light cover as well.
And if we look in the center here, unfortunately for Underthesea, Onord he's got a couple infantry on this hill now. He's got the cover, and the Lovas have to push across. Now, they're weakened squads, so he definitely has a chance of getting back on that hill, and he kind of needs to.
Yeah, the Hasselhoff might just be the key there to win against those converted gunners at range. More Lovas on the way just to back that up as well, and maybe with a couple shots from the artillery nearby, that could probably do the trick. It just depends if he uses it. I mean, I don't think these players sometimes forget that they have artillery because it's not something that you see all that often in 1v1, but you'd expect...
Huzarok just got that Huzarok in the center got deleted by the 203mm. One shot killed 3 and it was gone.
Yeah, you'd expect good players to know how to use it, and Onord there certainly showing us how with that lovely kill. Bottom side, the 81mm mortar still looking for the 75 kill. It's funny because the ammo and pioneers there were chilling for so long, and I think they did manage to kill one of the AT guns there, but then it was replaced. So
yeah, they did, and they basically Underthesea's like entire force shot at them and killed them.
Yeah, I think they got bombed in the end. The Lovas now making some progress again across this hill, just trying to take that back the flag. But I mean, even if he does take back the flag in the center right now, takes back the flag at the bottom. Well, yeah, it would probably take it back to like 14 to 9, but, or 14 to 8.
Those flags,
yeah, but it's still going to be a really tough position for him because there's never any way for him to take the middle flag. So he's going to have to really try and find more ground on the top and bottom. he is slowly getting to the point where he's dealing with these converted gunners, and I'm pretty sure at this point Onord's going to be starting to get a little low on them, rely more on the Nisei, and then the Nisei will trade more evenly with Hasselhock in the medium range. So, unless they get extra veterancy, but we haven't really seen a leader yet, actually, out of Onord.
Yeah, very kind of odd, really. And actually, we can see here the use of this mortar down south to basically hold that flag. It's because of the suppression that he's putting on these infantry that he gets to keep holding this flag.
Yeah, that mortar fire and the artillery fire really coming in handy. The Ju-88 not going to be able to break through the AA and drop its payload. And that's the beauty. When you get your AA to the point where it stops a bomber before it even drops its payload, that's when you know you're doing things right. And that Ju-88 really taking the hurt.
Might go down. It could.
So Solar Shock going to be continuing the engagements over that flag. The 81mm mortar really trying to stop that in its tracks, but we're going to be back to 13-11 now. As Lovas get a little bit of presence over the flag in the center of the map, but probably not for too long.
Nah. It seems exciting, but this is probably temporary. And also in the center here in the town, he's lost that flag at the crossroad. He has one Husarok coming in. It might be able to hold, but this M4A1, he has to be careful. If it snipes it, he'll lose all presence in the middle there.
Yeah, there's Lovas in trouble as the converted gunners trying to run him down and get the surrender there. Onord did accidentally pin his own Nisei that were trying to chase down the Kedok Palasok, but I don't think that's really going to matter too much. On the bottom side, AT gun now gone to the converted gunners again, and that's going to allow this M10 to just cover the road if it wants to. It does still need to be a bit careful of the Pak 40 though.
And up north, north is quite quiet. Onord kind of established himself in some of these forward forests and just said, yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, I think there has been some attempts under the sea here to move forwards with a couple of units, but he's lost a couple of transports there on the road. You can see them burning up. A couple of Turans now coming in to maybe assist with a push from some Lovas because he is bringing in some more. And on the top and bottom side is where, Underthesea is going to have to make ground in order to get back in the game. But every time that he puts his points into the top and bottom side of the map, well, Onord's just going to re-establish himself in the center.
Let's get that Vulcan 190 in to finally, hopefully for him, clear off those converted gunners on the hill.
Yeah, it took so long though, and that Ju-87 not going to go anywhere.
Not a chance.
Yeah, double 90mm, plenty of AA coming in. It might just go down.
It should.
It should. Doesn't always mean it will. There we go.
It is. Yep.
Finally, it is really actually very satisfying when the big AA pieces fire that shot and it hits a plane directly and takes it down. Very cool to watch.
Like I said, those 90 mils are really actually effective. I don't know what the difference between the 88 that the Germans have and the 90 is, but for whatever reason, the 90 seems way better.
I think the damage is just a little bit higher. I'm not entirely sure if that's the case, but yeah, they do definitely hurt, that's for sure. The Hasselhock here having an engagement with the Nisei on the bottom side. Nisei actually doing really, really well because of the BAR is able to fire within that 100-meter range due to being an automatic rifle, so not having a fun time. The Rohamach, so I just get deleted as well.
And he finally brought in some leadership, so now they're triple-star Nisei rifles, and of course the Niseis also have semi-automatic rifles. So everything about them right now, these are just delete machines.
Yeah. The Thompson submachine gun, highest DPS submachine gun at 100-meter range as well. So yeah, pretty rough. Ju-88 does get the bombs off this time, but will it survive this time? Because it certainly took a lot of damage.
Might be sacrificing itself for that bomb drop. Now he did get all those infantry to fall back, so there's some ground he'll capture here. Maybe he'll surrender one. Maybe he'll get lucky. No, it looks like
you can't surrender them because
they're because of the leader.
Yeah, well, it's also because they're not fully pinned. So.
I just saw that. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. If the bar's not full, they won't surrender. But you gotta get that the whole way. The Nisei though, and the converted gunners, nice little smoke play here, pushing them up onto the flag. I think Onord right now is just he's just trying to push for the double tick just to kind of seal the deal. I think it's not necessarily pressured enough
need
that he
it.
thinks he's going to lose, but it's just kind of, can I finish the game a little bit faster if I push onto these flags? And he's certainly going to deal with that Hasselhock nicely. The VulcanHDGaming are not going to be able to do anything about that either, so going to be losing 2 flags there to that little smoke play.
Oh, and I love, if you look at the 90mm AA piece for Onord in the middle, look at all the artillery rounds around it, and it's only lost 3 guys.
Yeah, well, yeah, those guns, as you mentioned, the 76 mils, just really not accurate at all. And whilst he can keep it pinned due to the blast, it's not going to do the job in that regard. Like, it's not going to kill it off for good.
Back to the 15-9. We only have a minute left here. Yeah.
It seems like a slow and steady decline for Underthesea, just not having the answers for Onord's deck.
Yeah, and I think part of the issue for this battle for Underthesea was, again, it just, I don't know if he picked first, you know, because for League, one person picks and the other person picks a division. You know, I don't know if he picked second, but I don't think this is a great division matchup, especially for this map, because Lovas just doesn't have the range to play around in this center area well enough.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, I think just Onord, like, yes, he didn't bring in the M4s early on, but Underthesea, you know, he could have maybe, you know, realized that wasn't the case, but he was always probably expecting it, right? And so Onord wasn't necessarily affected by that being the case. Got a nice couple kills there, like Turan2 did take out one of the M4s, and this 75mm getting some good shots onto the M4, but that's going to be all she wrote for Underthesea as the game ends in 36 minutes and 1 second.
And the KD is not actually terrible. Underthesea was only about 400 points behind Onord, you know, which it felt like it should have been bigger based on how large the gap in flags was by the end of the game. But yeah, I mean, he held pretty well.
Yeah, 2,750 kills, 2,330 losses for Onord. Obviously, vice versa for Underthesea.
Seeing if we have any standouts in the
it's just the converted gunners, right? Getting plenty of value there. Like, even just like the machine gun and the Hasselhock. The Hasselhock, you know, already expensive.
The 105. The 105 did some excellent work in the middle there.
Yeah, it was taking out lots of Lovas. But yeah, converted gunners really, really doing nicely. The M4 105 had complete control over the center for a very long time. Really nice Nice squad.
Yeah,
taking out. Yeah, 2 Lovas, 2 Hasselhock, Turan 1. Hasselhock, that's really rough.
And there's another Nice squad further down that also took out 4 squads of infantry. Yeah, when your infantry trade that poorly, it's really hard to stay in forest. It's really hard to stay in the game, really.
Well, that's what we were talking about in the previous series we casted, you know, the difference between, like, what infantry allows you to do is continue the aggression, and without it, you can't control the flags. And the beauty here is that Onord was controlling the flags, as you mentioned as well, with the artillery. And that just stops the infantry from getting close. And then he's also trading well with the infantry when he's choosing to engage them directly. And it just really put Underthesea in a terrible position, whilst also not being able to control the open ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something definitely to say to newer players. Infantry win games. I see too many new players like, oh, tanks are the thing, you know, because they're fun to use and, you know, they're tanks. Tanks are cool. But honestly, in this game, it's infantry that win the game for you.
Yeah, they're the ones that hold the ground at the end of the day. Anything else you want to say?
No, a great game from both players. Onord just got the advantage here at the beginning and was able to continue that pressure throughout the game, and Underthesea was never able to really pull it back to himself. Yeah,
so 1-0 for Onord in this best of 3. We'll have to see in the next game if Underthesea can bring one back. But that's it for now. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this one. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Have a fantastic day, everyone.
Catch you later, guys.